think as I understand it, Bill Fotherby tried to get Faustino Asprilla. He got Brolin in the end, but he was going to get Faustino Asprilla. Was your idea to play him alongside Tony, or was he a replacement for it? How do you think that he would have worked in the side you had at that time if you had got him?
If there's somebody who you think is a good player, and by that I mean in the total sense, on and off the pitch and so on and so forth. Now, you can't always get it. It was just at that time, that's what I felt, that if we could get him, he'd be an asset to the squad. Because, as I've explained, being as successful as we were so early on was fantastic. But it came with problems, and with terms of expectations, not just of fans, but of players, in the sense that, and rightly so, their feet can leave the ground, but somebody, it was about low maintenance, high performance, which you don't always get, but Gary Kelly was a perfect example of that.
So just moving on, so had you stayed at Leeds and gone the longer term, was the longer term plan to bring in someone like Gordon Strachan to be the first team coach? So similarly to you when you went to Notts County with Jimmy Cyril, was that something that was planned, that you'd go into a director of football role with a head coach, or have I got that wrong?
No, we didn't. I ain't got that far. We just wanted to be Premier League 2. That's what we wanted to be, and we wanted to be a Premier League 2 who were fighting, a Premier League team who were fighting for honours. Okay.
And you'd have just carried on in the normal manager's role, so that wouldn't have changed if you'd have stayed. That's right.
Yeah. I would have hoped to have built, which you could do then, built a culture at the club that went from the best player down to people who worked in the offices and the kitchens. I mean, I know it's changed now in the sense of the structure and the money that's coming in, etc. But at that point, it was very much about, the people who've been successful, who were being successful and had been successful, were the Shankleys and the Revies and, as it turned out, the Fergusons and Clough and so on and so forth. They were around a long time, and it was I think I said, as I went to become technical director, it was good and refreshing to see that the staff who worked in the canteen, as it was called then, felt able to have fun with Alex, which perhaps the players didn't feel they were able to. He could ask them if they were all right, and they could ask him if they were all right, rather than him come in and order a cup of tea and then sit down and then hope that the cup of tea was a nice cup of tea. It was I mean, typical of Alex. There's a lady still there now, Cass, at Man United. I don't know how long she's been there, but when I went back there, Alex invited me back. I think it was started this season. She was still there. So I had lunch, and she was there in as it were, looking after that room. Now, I think she's been there over 50 years. And going right back to my first 6 months as technical director, I had to go up to the training ground quite a lot to have meetings with him, and meetings start usually at 7 or 7:30 in the morning. She was there then, and seriously, you'd have thought that he was family. Yeah. Sorry, that she was family.
Sorry, is this it, Manchester United? So you talked about 6 months as technical director. So you were technical director of the FA, but you were talking about Manchester United.
I joined the FA on the basis that I thought football could be better structured. There were people at the FA who noticed what was happening at Leeds with regard to youth development. I've already said it. I hated the word apprentice.
Yeah.
Thought it was a terrible term. Unfortunately, some of them were treated like apprentices in the sense that they didn't just learn their job, they also learned other jobs that were cheaper if they did them, like cleaning the stands and so on. And when in the meetings before joining them, I told them that things at that level needed to change if they wanted to produce players who were consistently and increasingly capable of playing international football. And the whole development system at international level was needed an overhaul, in the sense that you need a plan from under 16s to under 21s. And that plan needs to be, how do we teach these people coming to us that international football and professional football, as it were, Premier League football, are different, are the same, but different in many respects.
Yeah.
And that, so as I used to say to the youngsters, once I got in the job, and they'd come together, whether it was the under 17s or the under 18s or the under 21s, but particularly the younger ones, I'd say, you're at Manchester United and you're learning to become a professional football player with Manchester United, dealing with the problems that Manchester United get in that. However, international football is the same as club football in the sense that it's 11v11, there's a football there, but there are other things that are very different. And what we have to do is identify the things that are different and make sure that the system is designed to deal with those things that are different, so that you do have two CVs, as it were. You do have two heads, and one's the head of the Manchester United player and one's the head of an England player. So we can't have an under 17 coach saying this, and then you move to the under 18s and he says that.
So it's continuity, yeah.
Continuity throughout that process. And that's why you needed academies, and you needed to change the requirements within academies in terms of trying to ensure that the players were seen as a long-term project at international level, but at the same time, so once academies were introduced, you got child protection introduced. The coaching courses were gradually adopted and adapted. Qualifications for youth development coaches were brought in, specific on one of the main things was to show them, to demonstrate to the coaches that, look, the two lives are different, and what you're going to be is you're going to be there, part of the process that turns them into an international footballer. But most of them, for most of them, it would take a time. And unfortunately, Wembley came along and the sale of Wembley, and St George's Park was put back, was it 68 years or 8 years? And I was against that decision when it was made. And now I think I've been proved right in being against that decision.
And we made the benefit of that. So, prove well right.